Hi guys, we are going to be continuing reading The Barren Grounds by David A. Robertson. We are now currently on chapter 9. Okay, so here we go. At the end of chapter 8, we had Morgan and Katie have a conversation about how the day, it was just a kind of a rough day, but they're ready to try again. And Katie said to Morgan, I don't want you to leave, which is a huge thing, I think, for Morgan to hear that from somebody. They talked a little bit about, trying to find, Morgan said, I don't know who I am. Go talk to Eli about that stuff. He knows his culture. I don't know anything. But then she said, but I do like Bannock, so don't stop bringing me Bannock. At the very end of the chapter, actually, she did make mention about how, Eli wants to try to go through the portal. And she was like, well, maybe we could. But then she fell asleep, so we'll see. All right, chapter 9. We're on page 77. Morgan was having something between a dream and a nightmare. She was standing outside a window to a small room. Not any room in Katie or James's house, but still familiar. A place she'd not been in for a long time. Somehow, she knew that. A winter storm was blowing around her. She put a hand on the cold glass, and as soon as she did, she heard footsteps in the snow behind her. She turned around to see the Fisher appear out of the blizzard. When their eyes met, he charged towards her. No! Morgan jolted awake, but the cold followed her. She curled the sheets around her body and tried to gather in as much heat as she could. Soon, the remnants of the dream would pass, and she would feel warm again. It had felt so real, and when that happened, she knew she'd feel stuck in the dream for a while before coming to her senses. But as seconds turned to minutes and Morgan felt more and more awake, she didn't feel any less cold. I've got the flu, she thought, and decided that she would get up and make herself tea. She checked the time on her cell phone, just before 3 in the morning. She'd been asleep for only like 2 hours. The night light behind her headboard threw a white halo across the floor and walls. Morgan left her phone on the floor and sat up. The hairs on her arms were standing up. She rubbed them vigorously. The only solution, before making a nice cup of hot tea, was to bundle up. She grabbed a thick hoodie from her closet, slipped on a pair of socks, and even, albeit reluctantly, put on the moccasins. It turned out to be a good choice. When Morgan opened the door and stepped into the hallway, she felt even colder. Okay, so what the heck is going on here? What the? She whispered. The first thing Morgan noticed was that the door to the attic was open, and all the cold air was coming up from there. Her heart started pounding. Oh no, she whispered. She rushed over to Katie and James's bedroom and opened the door. They were huddled together under their duvet, sound asleep. Good. Morgan shut their door quietly and then ran up to Eli's room, right up to his bed. She threw the comforter off to find that he wasn't there. She checked the rest of his room, refusing to believe that he'd done what she knew by now he must have done. He wasn't anywhere. Not under the bed, not in the closet. There was only one place left to look. Morgan ran up the stairs, taking them 2 at a time to the attic. The door to their secret room was wide open. It had probably been left ajar, and the wind from the storm had pushed it all the way open. The cold had flooded into the attic, down the stairs, and filled the second floor. It didn't look like their room anymore. It was more like an extension of what they'd seen inside the drawing. Blowing snow had caked against the walls and built up from the floor to above her ankles. She peered through the swirling flakes to see the drawing, stapled back against the slope wall, which was clearly now a portal to the snow-filled world. She pulled her hood up over her head, stuck her hands into the hoodie's kangaroo pocket, and forged a path through the snow to the opening in the wall. To her relief, the fisher was not there running at her, but Eli wasn't there either. All she could see through the swirling winds and whipping snow was the field of white. Not even the forest on the horizon or the village. The storm had gotten worse, if that was even possible. All right, so Eli's put the picture back up on the wall. Portal has reopened. Eli is not in his room. So we are making the inference, we are assuming that Eli has gone through the portal to this other world. Now, does Morgan decide to check it out and join him? Let's find out. Morgan stuck her head through the portal and scanned the entire field, but there was nothing to see. An endlessly barren landscape. The wind was severe, kicking up snow and spinning it around in countless miniature tornadoes. She stared across the field, into the storm, for as long as she could stand, until her skin grew numb. During the briefest of moments, when the wind let up for a second, she did catch a glimpse of the village's lights. "Eli!" Morgan shouted into the world of white. She looked at the ground. There were no footprints. Already snowed over. "Come back!" Morgan screamed. But even as she did, she knew that he'd never be able to hear her. The wind was louder than she could ever hope to be. Morgan could see only two options. Leave him there and wait for him to come back, or go in and get him. The first didn't seem like a choice at all, because what if he never came back? What if he was buried under the snow somewhere? What if he was still walking towards the village? What could he have left with What could he have left with to keep himself warm for the journey? Katie and James had planned to take him out shopping for clothes as winter approached, but they hadn't gone yet. Then a worse thought came to Morgan. What if Eli hadn't left on his own at all? But the fisher had taken him, just as she'd feared. Either way, this was her fault. She'd said what she said, and it had made Eli open the portal and go through it. "I'm sorry!" she cried out, staring into the blinding white. There was only one thing Morgan could do: plunge into the void and go after him. So here goes Morgan. She's going to step through that portal and go into this unknown world where animals seem to be able to stand on 2 feet, and it's a blizzard. She can't see anything, never mind the village lights or the forest around there. It's terrible. But Eli is there. She's sure of it, and she is afraid for his safety. How's he going to be warm? What's he going to do? Where is he? So she's going after him. I like this. "I'm sorry," she cried out. She's saying she's sorry. You know what? You can say sorry all you want. We don't say sorry. We show that we're sorry. We show that we're sorry through our actions. And right now, Morgan, yes, she says she's sorry, but her actions as she's walking through that portal to go and help Eli and be with her friend, she's showing she's sorry. And that's what we all must do. All right, guys, that's it for chapter 9. It's a short little chapter. Next video will be chapter 10. All right, guys, take care.